Welcome to the Do Diligence podcast, where we explore how leaders make and execute their biggest decisions, from transactions to founding organizations to career pivots and beyond. This podcast is produced by Sleeping Giant Capital. We connect executive talent and capital to invest in West Michigan businesses. To learn more, visit us at sleepinggiantcapital.com or stop by our office in downtown Kalamazoo.
Okay, The Diligence is back. The podcast that goes after the deepest decisions and how people make them, especially leaders. For the return episode, we got Mitch and Kelly, two CEOs in residence, our residency program. We'll get into what that actually means, but thanks for joining us, both of you.
Yeah, great to be here, Derrick.
All right, first, as we always start off, what are you guys drinking right now? It's Friday afternoon.
I'm boring.
Anybody got alcohol yet?
I'm boring. I don't even drink, you know that. But I've got ice water in my Stanley Cup.
Yeah, both of us. I'm over 2 years not drinking. Yeah, good. Ice water and a Stanley Cup. Bougie. But Kelly's bouginess just came through in her Stanley. She's like all the kids out there.
But for the record, I got the Stanley Cup for free, pre-LOI on a deal. So they sent it to me for free.
Oh, gift. Pre-LOI gift. I love it. What does that even mean? Mitch, what are you drinking?
I got a little pour over coffee, a little jet fuel, a little 16-to-1 ratio Trader Joe beans.
Yeah,
the best out there.
Who's bougie now? Who's bougie now, Derrick?
No. Mitch is just an engineer and he makes elite coffee. If anybody wants a good coffee, come down to our office. Mitch might make the best coffee in town. I'm also drinking the same thing because Mitch got me hooked on this bougie, hardcore coffee that is equivalent to jet fuel. I actually had someone in our choir program come down. He only wanted half because it was too caffeinated for him. The pour over. Yeah. We actually bought pour over equipment for Mitch, so he's more bougie than you. We had to buy pour over equipment for him for the residency program.
You got to stack up the office. That's right.
Yeah, we're stacked. All right, so why don't you guys? Today we're going to do a couple things. We're going to go over the residency program, what it is, but I think it's best to kind of start, with your guys' journey in. I think that's the best kind of way to figure out how someone goes into both of you are trying to buy a business, which is a massive decision. So what's going in that decision? But another big decision was your journey to this point, and then what made you make that decision. So let's start. Why don't we start with you, Kelly? Give us kind of background on your journey to this point, right? Pre this point, the kind of the journey you went on, as an executive, then someone that wants to buy a company. Why don't you let us into the background and give us behind the scenes in your journey?
Okay, so I'm going to try to give you the Cliff Notes version. I'm going to be, for many people, I think there's a phrase out there: be brief, be bright, be gone. I'm going to do that to the best of my ability. So I was a CHRO for a fintech company in Grand Rapids. I've been in HR roles for 25 years, and my journey to acquire was really about this idea of kind of a couple of things. So one, I wanted a little bit more control of my future. I really wanted to be able to build something amazing, and learning through the acquire program, actually buying something and then building it from there is the better way to go. And I would also say I wanted to get off the corporate treadmill. I was a CHRO. I love human capital. I love people. I love driving performance. But I realized there's also a big need in the market for a human capital firm. And so after going through the acquire program, I sat down with my husband. We looked at some Excel sheets. I'm the only income earner in my family. My husband's a stay-at-home dad. He's amazing. And but we decided to do this jump together because we felt like, you know what, the best person to bet on is yourself. So that's why I'm here.
Wait, and Kelly, so shout out to Brad. He is a great dude, and his coaching. Tell me, so let me repeat that back to you. You are the sole income earner for your family, and you have how many kids, just so we know?
I have 4 kids. 2 were in college and 2 were in high school. Yeah.
Good timing to hop off that corporate treadmill.
Yeah, no kidding.
I think my husband says go big or go home. But you know what? I realized I was at the point in my career where I was ready to take big risk, but I just really felt compelled that this was the right path for me.
Okay, the right path and the path to business acquisition. And you said you did some diligence in there on some Excel sheets, and so at least we did some modeling to understand how, what we could afford and how much risk, right?
Yeah, there was a lot of modeling. I'm not gonna lie. Like there was a lot of modeling. There was a lot of like what size of business, what kind of CAGR or compound annual growth rate I would need in order to get it to a good place. What would make sense? What would equal what I was making as a CHRO? Lots of modeling, but I will not bore everybody with that.
All right. All right, Mitch, let's go on your journey and let's talk about, where you were before here and then your decision to come here.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a Kalamazoo Townie, born and raised in the area. Have not, had a reason to leave the area yet, and I want to continue that up. So prior to this, very similar to Kelly, we are ex-Stryker people. I came from Stryker, leading one of our assembly operations teams here in the Kalamazoo area most recently. Extremely passionate about people leadership, and that's been a big element of my career and my life, really since I've grown up. I have kind of always wanted to and envisioned starting some sort of manufacturing business my whole career. I've been around entrepreneurship in my life via family members, through my parents and my grandpa, and then also some very close friends of mine. And it's been a kind of an aspiration of mine. And probably about 3 years ago, I actually found Sleeping Giant Capital through a podcast. So it's fun to have this come full circle to be on the podcast that inspired me to be here. But I found out about the journey to, instead of starting a business from scratch, you can actually buy one, and buy an awesome one, and buy one that will keep me here in West Michigan. And reached out to Sleeping Giant Capital back last May. I don't know if it was my skills or if it was the coffee that Derrick decided me to bring on for, but yeah, here I am, and it's been about 5 months of searching so far, and we're just getting started. It's been fun.
It was neither of those. Doug and I were so excited to find the one person that had subscribed to our podcast that we found him. We found the person.
The one listener, man.
I don't want to take us down the wrong path, but I have to believe you picked Mitch because of the bus story.
That's right.
I realize the bus story is pretty awesome. I think you got to tell the listeners about the bus.
Man, you're stealing the thunder, Kelly. Yeah, I mean, the path to entrepreneurship starts with buying a school bus, and that is a true story. Me and a couple of my close buddies bought a school bus for a bachelor party prior to the pandemic, and with all good pandemics come cancellations of large social gatherings. So the school bus ended up in my driveway for about 2 years. And we painted it, converted it, took it on a bachelor party down to actually Kentucky. And then afterwards we sold it again. So not that I'm trying to invest in a school bus flipping business, but that might be some options in the future. Might be a good retirement project, but it's a great path.
2 years, I got to say, Kelly, I don't know how Brad would feel, but Stacy would kill me if I parked a school bus in our driveway for 2 years. And I would also like radically confuse my kids on like, why is the school bus in the driveway? Am I supposed to get on that thing or what's going on? But
my husband would be more tolerant, but he would ask me, am I going to make any money off of it? Like he'd be like, so you're going to make any money off this thing? And when is this getting out? But honestly, I think Brad would be more tolerant than Stacy.
Yeah, fair. I agree. He's a pretty easygoing guy. So tell me, let's go a little deeper. I'm going to peel back a little bit. What do you think the biggest challenge was? Because again, we're talking about your journey to pursue business acquisition, right? The journey to your entire career was built around growing into corporate America, growing these roles. We can talk about the school bus thing for us, that was like a sign of entrepreneurial mindset or entrepreneurial spirit, right? Which is hard to define, hard to identify in people. There's debates on who has it, who doesn't, all that kind of things. But what was maybe some of the biggest challenges you can talk about in that journey and deciding to go on that journey?
Yeah, for me,
what's that?
In the actual decision of the journey, or the challenge now? The
journey so far before you actually got here. So the biggest challenge on the journey and the decision. So just those two things.
Yeah, I mean, for me, right, reflecting back in my career, which I had amazing opportunities with some great leaders, with some great teams and great companies to grow myself personally, technically, from leadership skills and everything. But, similar to Kelly, it was the reflection of me of how much longer do I want to do something small in a big organization versus doing something big in a small organization and making a bigger impact. And it's always something that I've kind of dreamed of doing. And I think the biggest thing that is maybe apprehensible before someone takes a step is a W-2 income can be the safest thing in the world, right? It feels very good to get income every single day. But when you reflect on yourself on where you want to go from just an overall lifestyle and in your future goals, because your business aspirations have to tie in with your personal aspirations. Being something more of a leader within a small business was something that really kind of spoke to me a little bit. And yeah, I think it's a big step to take to go down the road and say, hey, I'm going to leave my job, the conventional safety of a corporate job. But I also think there's some unsafeness in that as well, right? It's less control for yourself, and that's not on anybody, but that's just how it works. And I think to be able to go down a path where you have a little bit more control of yourself, you're taking bets on yourself all of the time. That is something I knew I wanted to sign up for, and here I am.
Kelly, biggest challenges on your journey, and then I'm gonna ask one more follow-up question.
Okay. So first of all, I'm going to start with where Mitch said something, and he talked about, he's worked with some great leaders, and I've been so blessed to work with some amazing leaders. But I will also say I've worked with some really bad ones, and I think I'm just being honest, and I realized your value alignment is so important. The farther you get in your career, I would say I have a little more years on both of you. And I just realized the last 10 years of my career, I don't want to get into a place where I have a value alignment problem. And so to me, that means if you're running the show, you can choose who you work with. I also chose Sleeping Giant, knowing that this is a long-term relationship. I think that value alignment's important. The second thing, Mitch talking about being a W-2 employee. So I'm going to make it the really real. I was less intimidated by the W-2 part. I felt like, okay, I could do the math. But the thing that really was hard for my family, and I'm being very honest, was actually health insurance. Because, I mean, that's no joke. Like going from having really nice, reliable health insurance to figuring out how to get it on the open market and the cost, like that was actually a hurdle that we had to get through and talk openly about. So one was a little bit of this, I want to choose who I work with for the last 10, 15 years of my career and have that value alignment. And the second one was, the hard part was really kind of thinking through the financial and little tactical things like, okay, how are we going to do this? And how do we pay for health insurance?
Yeah. The free Band-Aids in the office do help. So thanks, Derrick.
I didn't even know there's Band-Aids in the office.
Yeah.
So
maybe we've used them all. I don't know.
I'll have to get some more. Yeah. So, and again, we don't want you guys hanging around here too long because Kelly, I'll soon enough, I'll transfer into that bad leader category you talked about. I hope I'm still like okay leader up to this point. We probably should have started with the end in mind. I think it's important for both of you. End goal and ambitions, right? Let's go down the road a little bit because I'm pursuing business acquisition, and our leaders may not know what that, or listeners may not know what that is. So go, end goal and ambitions here. Like let's start there, and then we'll dig into to your day to day.
Yeah.
You want to take it, Mitch, or do you want me to go?
Absolutely. I can start. So for me, my end goal and ambition is, maybe peeling behind the curtain a little bit more. So my significant other, my better half, and I, Haley, we've been in Michigan our whole lives, and we've chatted a lot, and we've talked about, right, like is having kids and going down that route an option? Maybe. Is it something that we really want to do right now? Don't know. But one thing for me that I've always held very true is I think, I reflect on a lot of what is my purpose here in life. And I think a lot of that revolves around the work that I can do through my professional work, and how I can make an impact with people, with communities, with people that are close to me that I care and love. So I think for me, the end in mind is a journey for me to own and operate a business for the rest of my career where I can do those things I knew was kind of my true north, or at least part of my true north. It's probably not the entire recipe, but it's a large majority of it. The opportunity to do something like this, whether it be self-funded search and you go out and do your own thing, or, partner with Sleeping Giant through the accelerator program like we're doing and talking about today. It's the same thing, different scale, different types, all of that. But I also, kind of coupling that with the principles of Sleeping Giant and in a long-term model, being in West Michigan, being able to look at larger transactions with larger teams. That is kind of my end goal in mind, is to be able to have a legacy, to carry on existing legacies that I think could end too soon if there's not a good succession plan.
Yeah, Kelly, end goals, ambitions.
Yeah, so end goals, ambitions. So the first thing I would say is, I happen to teach a workshop, and it talks a lot about a BHAG, which is big, hairy, audacious goal. Jim Collins, that book. And I really felt like I needed to practice what I preached. I've had a really great career. I've been super blessed. I was in the C-suite. I had a great role where I can make a big impact. But when I really did a little, like Mitch said, some soul searching, I realized, especially when you work for some bad leaders, that I wanna impact leaders being better leaders on a bigger and broader scale. And so that was kind of my end goal, my ambitions. First of all, I didn't know ETA was a thing. So just let's first say that entrepreneurship through acquisition, like that's a thing. Like I didn't really know that. I built business plans before. My mom and my sister, they own their own businesses, but I didn't really fully comprehend ETA until joining the Acquire program. Then I realized I really have a desire to help leaders be better leaders on a broader, bigger scale. And so my end goal is to build a firm that can do that on a much larger scale than what I've done.
Yeah. Okay. So you guys dropped some acronyms, ETA. We call it small business acquisition, entrepreneurship through acquisition. So buying a medium-sized company, not small, or small and medium. And then Mitch, you kind of talked about, hey, you could do it through yourself or a search fund or all these different avenues. And I think, let's get to the core today. Like I think one of the fuzziest things in this whole space is what someone like Sleeping Giant Capital does. We call it our accelerator. So we're accelerating your business acquisition process. Training program of like what is ETA is kind of a required program, how to take that. So what I think is best to get into now is like your role. Like let's unpack your day-to-day, your role, what it's like, and just kind of, being inside of an accelerator. What does that actually mean? And working with, there's a number of us out there that are trying to help. Amazing executives like yourselves go out and buy small companies, because there's a big opportunity, right? There's a massive opportunity to buy small companies right now, because there's a lot of people that own them want to retire. So there's the big high level thesis of what Sleeping Giant Capital does. But why don't we dig into what is it like being inside Sleeping Giant Capital in an accelerator program where you're trying to achieve your BHAGs, your big, hairy, audacious goals of owning and growing amazing companies with amazing talent and amazing people that you get to pick, and supporting your community. What is it like? So let's start there. What is it like? Who wants to take that?
I'll start, and then I'll hand it over to Mitch. So first of all, although our title is CEO in residence, we're also just a searcher. That's what people would call us. We're searching right now for businesses. And I mean, our day to day, and Mitch will talk about his, I can't believe it's that much different, is we're talking to business owners all the time. And saying, talk to us about your business, talk about your succession plan. Are you interested in exiting? But I will say there is a reason. So working with an accelerator, which is Sleeping Giant Capital, means you're not doing it alone. So I will say, and I'm not just saying this because he's on the phone, but having somebody like a Mitch, we also have Jessica, who's another CEO here in residence. We can all kind of share our experiences. But then when you need to do with some modeling, you need to start looking at the deal. You start looking at, looking at EBITDA, looking at multiples, and all those things that go into buying a company, because we're like mini Shark Tank here. We have support, right? We have the Sleeping Giant Capital team to help us. So we're not totally doing this solo, although almost not all, but many of our meetings with our owners and our business owners, it feels like we're out there on our own. I mean, we really are. Like you're hitting the pavement, you're making phone calls, you're sending emails, you're meeting for coffee, but you have a support team. So I think that's probably the biggest differentiator for me. Mitch, what do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first of all, I've only worked in manufacturing plants my whole life. So coming into a nice office building about 5 months ago, I think I still had safety glasses on my head when I walked in here. So that is certainly a different thing. Luckily, we're not in the office too much, as Kelly mentioned. We're definitely probably more road warriors than we are, armchair quarterbacks, I guess. But really, I mean, exactly what Kelly said, right? We're searching for businesses, and I think being in an accelerator with Derrick and Doug and Janice and Kamala and Jess and Kelly, this can be a very lonely path for people that have done it themselves. And I'm going to put a plug in for one of my buddies, Derrick, not Derrick on the call, but he actually did the Acquire program through Sleeping Giant, went out and searched by himself for quite some time. And I mean, I remember chatting with him that it can be a lonely path. And he got through it, and he's doing awesome things with awesome companies. But with an accelerator program, you get some of that, I'll say, infrastructure around you, some support and help to evaluate deals. And I think the big thing for me, like a day on the life, and this probably speaks to a little bit of my probably lessons learned through my transition, was I am, as an engineer, I'm very numbers driven, pretty analytical. I spent most of my time and career in manufacturing and operations, and it's very day to day, and get a scorecard of where we're at, how we can measure performance. Coming to this, the pace in a way slows down a bit. It becomes very, very, very anti-transactional. And it's very relationship focused, about building trust between, potential sellers and, these business owners that have built these incredible businesses, and being able to talk to them and say, hey, this is why I'm doing this. I'd love to talk to you about how I can potentially be a succession plan for you. And that's an emotional conversation, and you have to be prepared for that. So, I thought I was going to come in here and search and spend 8 hours a day sending all these little emails to all these people. And honestly, the best, I think, and Kelly, I don't want to speak for you either, but the best thing that we have done is build out relationships, that maybe not necessarily with business owners, but whether they be attorneys in the area that are just willing to help you or make a warm introduction. Or I think another great benefit of Sleeping Giant is there have been previous Mitches and Kellys that are now operating businesses that looked at companies, talked to owners that maybe it wasn't necessarily a fit at the time, but now that we're kind of here and we have that introduction, we're able to kind of take that torch and run with it. And I think that's a big benefit of the accelerator program, is that continuous cycle of relationships and kind of handing of the torch to make it easier for the next CEOs and residents, in a year from now.
Yeah, I will say, so I came from a very relational, like although I've been on the production floor quite a bit, I will say I am used to building the relationship. I would say my biggest struggle, I don't know if we're going here, but I'm going to go here. So the relationships, having coffees, meeting with people, that was actually super easy for me. Matter of fact, dinners, you name it, I'm building relationships. It was transitioning the conversation to the really real, when you start asking for financials and start asking about where they're at on their exit strategies, and not just building the relationship, but moving the relationship to something more productive. That's where I've really had to that's where I cut my teeth, if you will, in the first couple of months. I was like, oh, this is where I've got to really kind of accelerate the relationship. Because otherwise you end up spending a lot of time with a lot of people, which are amazing, great people, but maybe aren't necessarily going to be your end goal. And so trying to find, what that balance is this relationship going anywhere? I think that's where I've struggled a little bit, and that's what's been a little bit hard.
Yeah. I think as Derrick says, right, a fast no is better than a slow yes, right? So cut to the chase.
Yeah.
Fast no is better than a slow maybe.
There you go. That's the one.
Not a slow yes. We'd like the slow yes. Yeah. If they're going to get the yes eventually, but the slow maybes are not good. But the fast no. But at the same time, I would agree with you, Kelly. Like the relationship part of this is so underestimated. And I think Kelly, you and I have talked about this, the difficult conversations you need to get yourself into fast. Like it's an owner that is selling their life's legacy. And, you don't want to, just be so transactional, but at the same time, you don't want to be flying around the country and driving across the state to go see someone that, tells you X and their company's only worth Y, and you're so far apart that you'll never get done. And yeah, so go ahead, Kelly. You're going to say something, or you're going to add to that?
I was going to ask you a question, just because I'm a little bit of a different CEO in residence in the fact that I get to be the first business services. And I would say Derrick's jumped on a lot of calls with a lot of my targets or owners. They're a little different in my space. They're very relational. They're not transactional. So I'd be interested in your thoughts around just kind of the different kind of sellers that you're seeing, and is my space different, or no, it's the same, and I just in my head convinced myself all these HR people are super relational.
Yeah, I think, to answer that, I'd say if you've talked to one seller, you've talked to one seller, right? They're all very, very different. And, we at least try to help you guys take an approach of what do they want, right? What's their end goal and ambition? And, is it, I want to stay on for a little bit. I want to pass the leadership torch. I want to pass the whole company, or what's their wants, and how do we get a deal done that satisfies everybody? With being long-term, right? We have tons of flexibilities, but they're all, even in your space, guy, they're all very, very different, right? They run the gamut of, individual contributor leaders, like those ones that are still doing a lot of work, all the way to hands off to, we see it all. Partnerships that you walk out and think, how does this partnership work? Like what I'm not even sure who does what right now, and how these two people get along. And maybe they don't have to believe, or maybe they've figured that out over years, but it's very different. But you're right. Yours is very relationship driven industry, right? HR, people practices. It tends to be a little more difficult conversations. Yeah. All right. So then let me, you get to pick one biggest learning so far in this role. We're trying to show people what it's like to be inside of an accelerator and be a CEO in residence. Biggest learning so far.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'll go back to the kind of the point of me is, I thought the search was going to be very, let's pull a list of emails, let's send out emails. I'm going to get all these responses back. All of my leads, except I guess for one of them, have all came through warm introductions, right? There's people that know somebody who knows somebody, or a trusted confidant that they know, was introduced that way. So I think for anybody going down this journey is make sure that there's a human element of it. Because I think it can be very easy to get into the numbers, right? Especially as you're looking at financials and, revenue and earnings and things like that. But from a just being a good person and being somebody that, you can try and build trust with across the table. I think even as we're evaluating deals, it's very easy to look at all the tangibles, right? The numbers, the industries, the customer concentration, yada, yada, yada. But that unwritten, understanding of, looking and working with a seller that, you can trust, that, is going to be someone that's going to be a great partner for you, even post-deal transaction, that someone you can call and say, hey, I have this question on this customer, the supplier or employee. I think there's a lot of unwritten just value in that. So that's been the biggest lesson for me, is the amount of, I'll just say, people focus. And it's been actually a very positive surprise for me, but that's something that I think I just underestimated going to this from the start.
Well, my biggest learning, and by the way, thank you, Mitch, for taking it first, because I really had to think about it. I'm like, oh, I don't have an answer right away. But as you were talking, I'm like, okay, I think it's okay to say no. So knowing what you don't want is actually more important than what you do want, because early on, at least the market I'm in, it's a very fractured market, very fragmented. Those are Derrick's two favorite words. But there's
firms. But what I will say,
that, hang on here, I think my microphone just changed while I was talking.
You're good. Let's get back.
Okay,
Keep going.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but is that there's plenty of firms out there, but getting to the know was really important, and getting there kind of in a reasonable amount of time, like, right? Because there's some great people in the space, but in some cases their firm, it's maybe not a no, maybe it's a not now. A couple, there's definitely been a hard fast, like, yeah, no, that's not going to be a good fit. But again, I think the most important thing as a searcher is knowing what to say no to and kind of getting there fast so you can move on to something else.
Yeah. Okay. So, accelerators aren't for everybody. And we'll say that. And I agree with your guys' points, right? Some of the biggest surprises is make sure you build a relationship. I like to use, a good question when you guys come back is, do they think you're the son or daughter they never had, right? That they wanted to take over their business. Are you that person or are you not to them? I think that's a better question. I think so. That here, even at Sleeping Giant Capital, we're continuous improvement, trying to improve things, processes, trying new things, willing to experiment. What's the biggest drawback? Knowing I have thick skin from growing up playing hockey and always getting yelled at, like, you're not going to insult me. So don't hold back. What's the biggest drawback you think of an accelerator versus some of the other paths?
Yeah, I can certainly start. Well, the first one was the coffee.
Mitch jumped right in. He was ready to go. I got a long list here. Which one do you want me to start with?
I got things in the
if
chamber.
There's more than one, please share.
You're giving me the opportunity.
Yeah, take away, Mitch.
Well, first thing, the coffee here was just absolutely atrocious when I started. So if there's anything that I can do to, leave a mark on the office here, I'm hoping the coffee will stick. But since we got that taken care of, absolutely. But I mean, right, I think maybe not the elephant in the room, but most people, right, go down the self-funded search because they get 100% ownership equity in a company. And with an accelerator, that at least initially, right, it's not the case. You will have, for the most part, minority ownership in a company. And for certain individuals, that might be a red flag, that might be a detractor. However, just kind of reflecting on a lot of the things that Kelly and Derrick and even kind of myself were mentioning, I think there's a lot of benefits in what the accelerator can do pre and post close of a deal, right? With the infrastructure in a search, with the opportunity to surround yourself with very, very trusted, highly competent leaders in the West Michigan area via a board when you're a potential first time CEO or someone that's never done this before. So from a detractor, right, the equity position from an initial investment, I think is certainly probably one of them that is might be the biggest detractor. However, that equity position, at least, speaking for Sleeping Giant Capital, we have the opportunity for ourselves to improve that via initial upfront investment from our personal side of things. There's obviously different hurdles that we can hit to increase our equity position, and as well as, the opportunity to continue to grow your equity position down the road, as it is a long-term hold model. And these companies will, ideally be within our leadership for quite some time. So,
yeah, I would agree there, Mitch. There's a lot of people people kind of that aren't interested in accelerator. They go, I want 100% ownership, and they go, well, yeah. I mean, there's paths to that, but it can be not as easy as people think it is. But yeah, Kelly, go ahead. Biggest drawback or thing we can fix besides the coffee.
Okay, so this would not be a podcast with me if I didn't talk about the single biggest issue that I have, and that I have to walk 3 blocks every day when I come into the office.
The parking garage. Yeah. Kelly's used to having front row parking, like when you see the slot for the president, that's where she parks, like right there, and then gets out and steps in her office, and she's got a 1 block walk to the office every day.
3 blocks. But I have been able to give out these really cool blessing bags to some of the people that I pass along the way, to the homeless down here, and to be able to help Kalamazoo in some philanthropy. But okay, so aside from my walking, and I don't mind walking, it's just in the middle of the winter. Anyways, okay, moving on.
So walking is one, right? We have a little bit of a homeless population with the library across the street outside our offices, downtown Kalamazoo. And you're right. You came in like fallish, and it was turning to, now it's winter, and we've had some cold days. So and your toe is broken from your triathlon. So, it's a little harder on you, but adversity makes us all stronger, Kelly. I keep reminding you that every day after your walk.
It was an inspiration.
Yeah, we'll call it that.
But you don't stop asking for my parking spot every once a week. So, I
know.
keep asking.
Kelly, you just gotta park on the street and just get a parking ticket every couple days. Might be worth the investment.
Well, honestly, Mitch, don't laugh. Early on, not on this street, but I have 2 or 3 parking tickets, and I realized I can't afford to be a searcher if I keep getting these parking tickets.
Right. Yeah.
Well, again, I always tell you guys, the accelerator is designed for you guys to get out of here as fast as possible, not staying at comfortable. Although we love you guys, but get out.
They don't make it bougie. Yeah, they don't make it bougie. I mean, unless you except for Mitch, because they bought him coffee equipment. I didn't get coffee equipment.
If he's got nothing in another month on results, I'm taking the coffee away. That's right. And the Band-Aids, apparently. I don't even know what those are, but I got to find them. Coffee will go away soon.
Okay, but in all real. So I will say what Mitch said is the first is it's the obvious, right? You're not going to own 100% of it, but to me, the flip side of that, and I'm not trying to sell sleeping giant, it's just true, is that I can buy something bigger. Like to me, where I was at when I did my little Excel spreadsheet and looked at what I needed to buy and my compound annual growth rate and ultimately what would be the payoff, I needed something of size. So by partnering with an accelerator, I'm able to get something of size. So I will say that. And I will also say only because I'm in the middle of it right now, and I don't need to necessarily go through my investment thesis on this call, but I'm purchasing multiple businesses, and I'm in the middle of due diligence. And Derrick, I don't know what I would do without Janice. Janice, who is the CFO/COO, which is an amazing resource here at Sleeping Giant Capital. She is amazing. And I'm trying to do new deals. I'm trying to work on deals that are halfway through the pipeline, and I'm in due diligence on an LOI, and I don't know what I would do without Janice. So I will say having that resource is worth its weight in gold.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. Shout out to Janice Kamala, and partner Doug is the other resources and our interns. But yeah, Janice is something else. I don't know where I'd be without Janice. Our taxes wouldn't get done, and nothing would be in order around here. Nothing. It's not in order as it is. We wouldn't have, but in all honesty, her role in diligence now and structuring and legal docs and controlling the lawyers and the accountants and the teams and the partners that we all have. And it's just, she is quite good at what she does and her role. Yeah, for sure. So, besides walking the parking garage, is there anything else in day in the life that someone should know about an accelerator that, is a benefit or drawback?
I just think, I think it's more as a searcher, not necessarily accelerator. And as a searcher, it doesn't happen as fast as you want it to happen. I am the most impatient human being. I want to get in here, find people, close a deal. And I'm like, good gosh. But it just doesn't happen as fast. You got to be patient with yourself. Things happen for a reason at the right time. And I think I will go back to what I said earlier. If I didn't have this group here with me, I think it would be really difficult I call it the messy middle, because that's where I'm at right now. I'm kind of in this messy middle of the search. If I didn't have the support and the camaraderie and kind of that teamwork, even though it is my search, I don't as much as I adore, and I do adore my husband. Brad is amazing. He doesn't really understand what I'm doing every day. So to walk him through, oh my gosh, I've got 12 in my pipeline and 2 fell out. I had a 2-hour call on Thursday night. I had to tell an owner to not get on a plane on Friday. He would just be like, what? But I tell you guys that and you're like, oh, that's a rough week, Kelly. Or like, oh, hey, good job on the LOI. It's really great having this team here.
Yeah.
Yeah. In what, a span of 3 hours, you paused the deal and got a revised LOI signed. It's just like, okay. We're humming. Yeah, no, that's interesting. And we're trying to train Brad. We sent him some deals that might fit his likes too. So
exactly.
Fair. Yeah,
we're trying.
Soccer world.
Yeah. All right, Mitch, go ahead.
Anything? One last plug, and it's a very similar thing to Kelly. Is there? I think anticipating the highs of the highs and the lows of the lows, and also acknowledging that this search process is temporary, but the skills that you're using. There's a lot of, things that you've maybe developed in prior roles and things like that, but it's also much different. But with that being said, right, you want to make it an efficient search. You don't want to find something just because there's a lot of speed behind it, but it might not be the right fit. So, your day does look completely different. And there's, some days you kind of question, you're like, I can't believe I'm doing this. Like, am I crazy for taking this journey? And then honestly, I've had other days where I absolutely knew it was the right thing for me, and I reflect back in the past 5 months, and they've been probably the most energizing 5 months of my career. And I think that's just a reflection of, happiness isn't always about the amount of money you have and everything else. It's about, are you truly doing the things inside of you that are driving you to have a fulfilling life? So it's a roller coaster, summarizing, and it's great to have people around you that can help with it.
Hey, Mitch,
Uh,
you could really be in HR. Like, you're all talking about talent and drive and
right?
performance. Like, hey, I'm saying if this searcher thing doesn't work out, I
Yeah.
might have a place for you.
Yeah. It's almost like we focused, really well on great people at Stryker, Kelly, right?
Yeah, great people do a lot of great things.
Yeah.
Just get the widgets thrown through and show me the earnings, and
Yeah, that's right.
I'll move on.
Just give me money.
Yeah. So let's talk. If someone listening, would be listening to learn about your decision making process, that some diligence you've had coming into the accelerator. If you were to build a roadmap for them, what are some things you would tell them to do before going down this path?
So it's a great question. I literally, I don't know if I think you know this, Derrick. Yeah, I think I sent you a text. I met with somebody like 3 days ago who's interested in this path. Somebody I don't know, actually, that just, I knew their husband, and they said, tell me more. And the first thing that I said was, I asked them, what's your risk tolerance? Like, you really, you have to get to a comfortable place with risk tolerance here. I mean, Mitch and I walked away from really good W-2 jobs, great careers. So one is risk tolerance. Two, you don't have this big team. I mean, although you have a team supporting you, you don't have this big team doing stuff. Like, there's nobody really driving your calendar, meaning I don't have a bunch of appointments and a bunch of deadlines. No, I'm driving that. So how is your self-motivation? How are you comfortable with just a white sheet of paper? Although you have a team and Sleeping Giant helps us and supports us and gets us on our way, what's your own personal self-motivation? And then the last thing that I would say, and I'm not saying this as a plug, but going through the Acquire program is, to me, life-changing. And the reason why it's life-changing, you may choose not to be a searcher, but going through the Acquire program only helps you be a better whatever, manufacturing engineer, HR leader, finance leader, like whatever. It only helps you. So to me, I would say, look at your risk tolerance, right? I said that first. And then ultimately, I would say take the Acquire program, because it's not going to hurt. That was the path that I told her.
Yeah,
it's the amazing coaching in the Acquire program that people get, right? It's just terrible coaching. Yeah, no, that's really good feedback. I think, I'm just gonna pile on a little bit, Kelly. When you come from corporate America, like that, all that gets left behind, right? You build up this amazing LinkedIn network and this, bag of resources around all these people and support and everything, and you get to wear the brand, right? All that just goes away, and it's just on you now. That's something, and we're an empowerment culture here. I tell everybody, I'm not micromanaging. It's your search. We're here to accelerate it and help you, but I'm like, if you can't do yourself, how am I going to trust you as a CEO? So I think that's a big part of it. Now, we try to do a lot for you guys to accelerate, but I think you're right. The risk tolerance and then the self-motivation, and that's big. And yeah, so roadmap, things to do and key things to reflect on. Or Mitch, what was your answer to that question? If you were to talking to someone listening that's thinking about going down that path.
Yeah, for me, and I'm going to piggyback on Kelly, right, with the Acquire program, right? And for those that are listening that might not have, heard about Acquire, it's a one-on-one coaching program put on through Sleeping Giant Capital. Derrick is typically the one-on-one coach, and it's really about, training somebody and educating people on how to go buy a business. What do you need to do that? How to lead a positive search, how to develop your thesis. And so I did that over all of last summer. So, summer 2024, within the Acquire program, I was extremely intentional about making sure that I could define the what and the why of what I wanted to buy. And I think that's incredibly important, especially as I've, done this for about 5 months, is that is almost the first question that comes up with potential sellers is, why do you want to buy me? Why is this business interesting for you? And if you just come across the table and say, I don't know, like your business makes money and it's in a town I really like, that's not as compelling as, well, I'm very passionate about metal fabrication because I've led people within that industry. I know about it. It's something that I really enjoy being around. I love the challenges. I love the fact that, your team of 30 people, I've heard great things about them. I've led teams of similar size, and that's a passion of mine. I think that's a more compelling story. And I didn't have that, or excuse me, I did have that as I went through Acquire and entered in kind of, with the CEO and residence program. And again, the Acquire program is not exclusively for, people partnering with Sleeping Giant. You can go through that, develop your own independent thesis and search on your own. And there's been tons of people that have went through it that I've gotten a chance to talk to that have, I think it's really kickstarted what they've done. And certainly you can do it without that, but I think, it's an amazing opportunity with some really great resources and an opportunity just to network with other searchers too. So that'd be my advice, is just dial in your what and your why.
Yeah, I think that's important, right? A lot of the content out there around this says you can go buy anything, but at the same time, you have to convince the seller that you're the right person to take over their business and their legacy. And it's not just because you're XYZ, what you're passionate about that industry, that resource, that whatever they're doing, making, however they're contributing to society and creating value for others through their business is, it's important to them, and there better be a why behind it for you. All right. So let's talk about, I'm going to two-part question. And if anybody really needs to know, they can go to both of your LinkedIn's, because you've been, doing these cool updates, which I'm awful on LinkedIn. I don't update enough, but, how's it going so far? Like results. And then I'm going to pair that. If you could do something different from the beginning that would have made your results better, what would it have been? So 2 parts. How's it going so far? What are your results? And then if you could start from the beginning and do something different that would have improved those results, what would that be? So 2-part to each of you.
Mitch, you probably have like an Excel spreadsheet with the scorecard with numbers.
How'd you know? I was just looking at it. I was trying to pull it up as we were talking.
Are you going to do a screen share? So I'm.
It's in HubSpot now. He's all dialed in.
That's right. So we're dialed in HubSpot.
So I will say, I feel like it's going well. So I'm about 2 months ahead of Mitch. So I'm about 7 months in. So I would say we're similar to where we're at in our searches. I feel good at where I'm at. I will say I am doing a little bit of a trick shot. And what I mean by that is I was hoping to buy a human capital firm that was a platform, and then I was going to buy it and grow it. I quickly realized that firm doesn't exist. And instead, I'm going to buy 2 or 3 firms and put them together and create a platform, hire to retire. So I feel good. I've got about 12, what I would say, really good companies in my pipeline. I would probably narrow those 12 down to really 4, because I will say, to go to your second question of what would I do differently, is I realized, and honestly, this is in the last 30 days, so this isn't like, this is pretty fresh realization, is that I need 2 or 3 that are of size, like that are of substance. So I have a lot of great targets, but they're smaller. And in order to grow off of something, I need it to be just a little, the first 2 or 3 in need to be of size. So this maybe goes back to what I said even earlier. This is like a full circle podcast moment where I should have said no earlier, or said, hey, you could be a tuck-in, or it's not a not ever, it's just a not now. So I will say my biggest learning is dialing in what's the right size of firm for me in order to build out kind of this human capital platform strategy. But I will say what Mitch said in Acquire, really, really Acquire helped me narrow in specifically on my thesis. I actually think starting narrow and going a little bit more broad is better. And I actually wish I started even more narrow. And what I mean by that is you can't get much more narrow than human capital. But I could have gone more narrow by
happening. I think my microphone messed up again.
It did. All good.
So, okay, I'm trying. There we go.
So what ended up happening was I ended up putting a ton of stuff in my pipeline that was probably a little too small. And so I'm still working a lot of those relationships, great people, great firms. I just wish I would have realized that earlier.
Yeah, we've met so many amazing people, and like those owner meetings I've been on and learning all about HR. It's been amazing for me, but so many really good people. But I think you're right. You need more than one person, right? You're buying infrastructure, a company, not a job or a consulting role. You can do that yourself. Mitch, how's it going so far? And it is going well, right? You're hopefully going to close your first one here soon, and then the second one's right behind it. But Mitch, talk to us. How's it going so far, results wise? And then if you had to go back and start again, what's one thing you'd do differently to improve your results at this point?
So how is it going? Well, I haven't bought a business yet, so it's 0 out of 10, I guess. No,
yeah.
All jokes aside, from a numbers perspective, right? I'm about 5 months into my search. I am, very different from Kelly, searching for a relative high mix, low volume, custom make to order OEM manufacturing company in the West Michigan area. Searching for something kind of in the industrial sector, potentially marine as well, in kind of the $7 to $30 million time frame, or excuse me, revenue size. I've met with probably 20 to 25 unique businesses and owners on, ranging from anywhere from hey, this isn't a good fit, maybe too small, different industry, all the way up through, hey, we've slid a couple offers back and forth, negotiated. Haven't got quite an LOI signed. I think we were quite close on a few of them. However, continue to remain motivated. I think within my pipeline, I'll say about 8 active qualified leads. 4 of those I would say are quite active potential solid deals. So, I think that's going to continue on kind of through Q1 and Q2. I would say maybe, advice or something I would change is maybe tempering my expectations a bit. Going into this, I started mid-September of 2024. I wanted an LOI signed before the end of the year. And that's fast, right? That's 3 months. Not that that's impossible, and I'm not saying, that it is, but I think too, good things take time, and kind of back to what I said earlier, where, you want to take the right deal, not the fastest one. And potentially, right, there could be a fast right deal that you find, and that's great. I think, something that kind of ties in with that too is, especially for us in our sizes, at least in my size, is spending more time on off-market deals. So deals that you're not going to find on bizbuysell.com or, any of the brokered websites, is for me, and the size and what we're looking for in terms of a long-term hold legacy carrying on model, is we want to find those owners that are really looking for the right fit, the right person, not necessarily looking for the biggest check. But, for me, so I've kind of, moved my attention towards the deals that are off market, and, kind of going out and hunting and pecking for, owners that are willing to have a conversation, and kind of, what Derrick alluded to earlier, is to convince them, I'm the son they've never had, someone that they can trust and, can continue on their legacy and their baby. So I think for me, if I were to do it over again, is really upfront, focus more on the off market, non-auction deals.
Yeah. So good points, guy. I mean, the narrowing is so important, right? Like the narrowing your focus. What do you really want? We try to tell people, but they think they're going to miss out on something. And I don't know how that works, but for us, you guys, listeners, they're both doing amazing. They're both going fast. They both have a really great deal flow. We're trying to just stay on their way, so not stop them. Hire great people, let them do what they do. So. Awesome. So let's end. We always end our podcast, and we're restarting this on rapid fire questions. So you got to go fast. And this will be the ending, and so people can learn a little about you. Start with favorite leader besides me.
Mine would be John Dunn. He was the WME president when I was a student there.
Great day to be a Bronco, John Dunn. Yes, he was good.
Great day to be a Bronco.
Yeah.
Mine would be Lonnie Carpenter. He was one of the leaders at Stryker, and I was really lucky and blessed to be able to work under his leadership.
I've met former President Dutton. I haven't met Lonnie. You hear his name ring through the streets of Kalamazoo, we will say, or Portage, Kalamazoo. But yeah, got to know him. Okay, if you had to pick one, which one's best, courage or compassion?
Courage.
Compassion.
Ooh. What you want to elaborate, either of you, quick?
I think this world needs more kindness. It also might be I have plenty of courage, and so I think I need to have more compassion.
Oh, yeah.
Frankly, I pick the one I need more of.
I have absolute zero compassion. Kidding. Maybe some would say that. But no, I think this journey takes courage. I think I've always been someone to kind of take the first step. This is kind of how I have the outlook for my life.
Okay, you got to pick one again. Great ideas or great execution?
Great execution.
Yeah, I'm going to say great execution.
In the everyone has a good idea. It doesn't mean anything without execution, right? One word to describe your personal leadership style.
Energy.
That's a good one for you, Cal.
Deliberate.
Deliberate. Okay. Night owl or early bird?
Early bird, without a shadow of a doubt. I am asleep by 8:30. It's embarrassing, but I'm up at 4.
100%. I'm an early bird as well. Got to get the run in the morning.
Yeah, Mitch is running in the middle of the night like I used to when I was doing marathons. Yeah, get up early and run. There's nothing like it. There's no cars in the street. You know, it's such a good thing. And then Kelly, same thing. I'm early bird too. Yeah, it's maybe it's a thing. Maybe biased on how we select people. I don't know. Who knows? Okay, if you're going into a dangerous jungle, so it's a really, really hard business task, right? And you're going in this jungle and you could bring one person with you. Who are you bringing?
They have to be alive or dead. I mean, like, can it be?
Yeah. It's a podcast. I don't know. I'm not grading you. Pick anybody, live or dead, either or. Doesn't matter.
That's a good question.
It's like the foursome of golf question almost, right?
I would say John Brown, who was not only at Stryker, but even in, I know it was corporate America, but just I think he had a very entrepreneurial spirit, his accountability for people, passion for people. I never got the chance to meet him. But yeah, I mean, for the time I spent at Stryker and some of the things that, I've seen and heard from people, he'd be the one.
Yeah, he's been gone a while, but you just hear people that work at Stryker, they still talk about him to this day, like the legacy he's left and his imprint on the culture. It's just unreal. Okay.
I had the pleasure of meeting him. Actually, he's amazing. He actually worked in like a sub office from the hallway I was in off of Fairview. He's amazing. He's the real deal. So to answer the question, and I almost feel like this feels like an obvious for me, but it would have to be my husband. But here's why. Okay, I would bring Brad because Brad is the opposite of me. So I feel like the things I can't do, he can do. Like you know what I mean? And so it's like if he has to talk somebody down because they're super angry, don't send him me because I'm gonna go fighting. But he's gonna talk them down and be smooth as butter. Like I feel like it's Brad. I have to take my husband with me.
Okay. Yeah, fair. Good. I hope my wife would answer that way, but I'm not sure she would. I don't think she would. She'd take the dogs with her, but probably. Okay. If there was an animal that reflected you or your leadership style, what animal would it be and why?
By the way, this is the dumbest interview question ever. If anybody on this podcast used this to interview a candidate, please call me. Let me tell you, that's not an interview question. But
I'm not interviewing you. I'm doing a podcast question.
I'm great with that. I just want to make sure people don't go, oh, great question. Cool. I'm now going to interview my, I don't know, manufacturing engineer and ask the question.
I'm trying to trip you guys up, actually. That has nothing to do with an interview. I would never ask this in an interview.
I think I would say I'm a cheetah and because they go fast.
Cheetah. So I maybe cheated on this one. We did this as a kind of a team building exercise back in a prior role. And I used AI to ask it. And I kind of described myself. And AI said wolf. Really being deliberate. They're people focused, maybe more wolf focused or people focused, I guess, if they're predators. Just valuing the teamwork in the pack, and they're more of a kind of a strong leader, but not leading by dominance, more just kind of collaboration. So that would be mine. And apparently a honey badger is the same thing, but that seems a little bit off kilter there. Yeah,
the wolf, the leading from the back sometimes too, right? It's not always, sometimes the wolf leads from the back of the pack. Yeah, that's I could see that. The cheetah go fast makes sense. Okay. You can do like your favorite noise or a noise to define you or your leadership stuff. There's one noise that defines who you are, just a noise. And don't make the noise. Justin,
I was waiting for it.
He almost made the noise. Justin was about to make the noise and I cut him off. So if there was a noise that defined who you are, or a noise that you just love, or that you think about that is like, this embodies me, my leadership style, who I am, what is that noise?
Okay. I would say laughter, because I don't think we should do anything in life without joy. I think we take ourselves way too seriously. So I would say laughter.
Yeah, I don't think we can ever hear you laugh, Kelly. I think like it's really not that loud.
Not fair.
But
Not
no,
fair.
so I think for me, I think I would be a quiet diesel engine.
Is
And
there such a thing? That's like an oxymoron, like a quiet diesel engine.
How about
right.
an electric car? How about an electric car? Like a
Well,
fast electric car.
So I had a loud diesel engine in my driveway for 2 years. But a quiet one, right? You can move fast, you can be precise. You're empowering, but you're not overpowering, I guess. So that'd be mine. I am pretty good at a diesel car noise, but I'm not going to make it right now.
Quiet diesel engine. All right. Yeah. Powerful, but somehow quiet. All right. Okay. Hey, thank you guys so much. It was great for you guys to join us on Do Diligence. I know you guys are super busy, and I just stole an hour of the day in the life. But Kelly said it's not the same every day anyway. So, I'll just keep doing this. Yeah, thank you. I hope that, to the listeners, I hope it provided insight. Reach out to Kelly and Mitch with any questions if you have any. You can go to sleepgiantcapital.com. There's my bad pitch to find their contact information if you have questions for them. But thank you guys so much. It was a pleasure doing this. Laughter and a quiet diesel engine, a wolf and a cheetah. All good stuff. We learned something. So thanks again. The podcast is about, what goes into your biggest decisions and some diligence and what due diligence is. And it was great to hear your guys' journey and your path to this, where you are now, and your path to get you out of this office as fast as we can. So apparently I'm taking away the coffee and Band-Aids after this. So
that's right.
Here we go.
Awesome. Thanks, Derrick.
Thanks, Derrick.
Thanks, guys.